Hey, what's up everybody? So I have a bunch of video ideas that I've been working on, but it's also been a really busy month in my personal life, so that's why the amount of videos have slowed down, but I thought I'd just give you this short little video with a quick thought that I've been having while I'm working on some other stuff. And I wanted to talk about a common progression I see among people who watch my videos when they tell me their life story and the story of their spiritual journey, of their faith journey, their journey through Christianity. And it's pretty much very similar to mine. And I see a lot of people start in a conservative Christian environment. And in this environment, they say things like, God is on our side. Us Christians, the side of the Christians, not just the Christians, but the Christians who think right and believe right. God is on our side only. But then we start to interact with all the people that we thought God was against, like people who don't share our religion, like LGBTQ people, like all the people who do things that we were told would send us straight to hell. People who couldn't step in any conservative church without being condemned. And we realize, whoa, God is actually on the side of everyone. Because all these people that they told me God was absolutely against, I am experiencing God through. So God is on the side of everyone. And then the next step on this journey is that we spend a while trying to ignore all the bits of condemnation in the Bible and just try our best to focus on all the love and grace bits only. And this may sound a bit strange, but it is a very important stage to go through. Because during this, we discover how big God can truly be. We discover how big love can truly be. And we unlearn all the ways that our faith had been weaponized against vulnerable people. But then, as you become more and more loving, you begin to learn how to notice a lack of love in others. And when you investigate the source of this lack of love, you begin to notice oppressive hierarchical systems of power that perpetuate hate and bigotry and inequality. And then you go back to those scriptures that you ignored for a while, and you realize that the harshest condemnations in the Bible are always reserved for the rich and the powerful who ignored the suffering of the poor and the powerless. And you realize how some of these verses of condemnation had even been twisted to condemn poor and powerless people, when that's not even what the scriptures were talking about, the more you actually study this stuff. And then you realize that this God actually does choose sides. This God chooses the side of the poor and the oppressed every time. And you realize that this whole book of the Bible was written by poor and oppressed people struggling for freedom from their very real material oppression and exploitation. And this is the insight of Liberation Theology. Liberation Theology says God chooses a preferential option for the poor. God prefers to opt for the poor first and foremost, and therefore the church should choose the preferential option for the poor as well. It is the interpretation of the Christian faith from the perspective of the poor and the oppressed. And my experience has been, as well as pretty much everyone I've talked to who has gotten really into liberation theology, is that eventually you kind of stop using the words liberation theology because it eventually just feels like theology. It just feels basic. It feels obvious that this is obviously the story we're working with the whole time. And the only reason liberation theology had to form as a distinct theological lens is because of the history of Christianity choosing the side of the ruling class, of the oppressors and of the powerful and of the rich, again and again and again, especially in the West. And this isn't just switching to being exclusionary and bigoted on some other side of some spectrum. No. Because sometimes people like to say that, like, oh, well, you're just like the other exclusionary people because you're excluding the rich and powerful or something like that. The people of means, you're being bigoted toward. All ridiculous nonsense. No. This is realizing that it is only through choosing the side of the poor and oppressed and fighting for justice for them first and foremost that we get justice for everyone. This is why the story of the incarnation in Christianity has always been so powerful, because God chooses to manifest God's self in this poor and powerless person of Jesus. Universal salvation is achieved through first and foremost paying attention and giving favor to the poor and powerless, to the oppressed, to the marginalized, through siding with them. And even though when you get to this point, you may be surrounded by people who say that you're no longer a Christian, or who think that you've backslid, or that you've gone down a dangerous, slippery slope, even in the midst of all those criticisms, you feel more Christian than ever. It's okay to choose sides. Love, authentic love, chooses sides. Grace chooses sides. Justice chooses sides. Today, we unfortunately have a lot of people who are stuck in this mindset that the most progressive and inclusive option is to never choose sides, to be on the fence for everything so that we can include everyone. But that ends up providing barrier to liberation for marginalized people and ends up hurting them in the long run, because you stand between the oppressed and their oppressors with a sign that says compromise. And so those people always inadvertently end up choosing the side of the oppressors. There's 3 short quotes that have really inspired me in this thinking. First, from Elie Wiesel, who said, "Always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented." And then this quote from Dorothy Soul. She said, "People do not like the rather primitive question, whose side are you on? But if you try to avoid the question, you have already made your decision. This is true for faith as well as for class struggle. In other words, the openness of middle-class people, their freedom to listen to both sides, only remains as a strength when neutrality is broken." And then lastly, this quote from Martin Luther King Jr., which has been going around a lot and I've quoted multiple times on this channel. "I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. The Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than justice. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will." The more and more that you actually care for humanity, you wind up realizing you must choose sides. So, I know a lot of you have gone through that kind of progression in your faith journey and in your political journey, and I just want to affirm you in that and say a lot of us have been going through that. This makes sense. This is how it works. And I know you may be surrounded by people who are telling you that, nope, you're going off the deep end, you're definitely not a Christian anymore, you've backslid, you don't know what you're talking about. Hey, trust me, you're on the right path. Keep on going, keep on learning, keep on growing, keep on exploring. There's nothing to be afraid of. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to watch more videos like this, and make sure you follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/whoisdamon, where we're streaming all the time over there. And if you'd like to support me, I'd greatly appreciate it. You can support me at patreon.com/Damon Garcia. Shout out to all my patrons already over there. Balaj Vince Seidel, Blessed Are the Poor, Jemima McAlpine, Josephine Clancy, Justin Powell, Shift Lock, Stephen Harp, Alex Lorenzen, The Commie Christian, Curses and Prayers, David, Holly Deering, James Finlay, Jason, Julianne King, Keegan James, Kristen Mouse, Marina Black, Miami Realtor, Mimi McGann, Mona Reed, New Transcendentalist, Nine Foldrin, Onion, Pauline Orr, Peter A., Peter John Blake, Randall Day, Refined Your Scene, Sam Osakwe, Stephen New, and everyone else. Thank you so much for supporting me. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.